At chemo, the doctor stopped us and said, "Someone has been lying to you." The 4 drip had been running for 23 minutes when Dr. Morrison walked into the chemo suite with a look I'd never seen before. Not the careful optimism he usually wore, or even the gentle concern for my bad days. This was something else entirely, confusion mixed with what looked like horror. "Sarah, we need to talk." He glanced at the 4 bag hanging beside my chair, then at my husband Marcus, who was scrolling through his phone in the visitor's chair. "Both of you. Now." I'd been coming to the same pale blue room every other Thursday for what felt like forever, watching the same slow drip of poison that was supposed to save my life. Today was supposed to be different though. Today was supposed to be my last treatment. 6 months of hell, and I was finally going to ring that stupid bell in the hallway that all the cancer survivors got to ring when they finished chemo. Marcus looked up from his phone, irritation flashing across his face. "Is there a problem?" "Sarah's been looking forward to finishing today." "Mr. Chen, I need you to explain something to me." Dr. Morrison was holding a manila folder, his knuckles white around the edges. "I've been reviewing Sarah's scans from last week, and I'm seeing something that doesn't match what you told me during our phone consultation on Tuesday." "Phone consultation?" I turned to look at Marcus. "What phone consultation?" Marcus shifted in his chair, his jaw tightening the way it did when he was annoyed about work stuff. "I just wanted to make sure I understood everything about your treatment schedule, babe. You know how worried I get." But Dr. Morrison was shaking his head. "No, Mr. Chen. You specifically told me that Sarah's tumor markers from her October scans showed progression. You said you wanted to discuss extending her treatment protocol." His voice was getting louder, drawing glances from the other patients. "But I'm looking at these October scans right now, and they're completely clear. They've been clear since March." The room went dead silent except for the mechanical whirring of my 4 pump. "March? That was 6 months ago." "I'm sorry," I said, my voice sounding strange and far away. "What do you mean, clear since March?" Dr. Morrison's face had gone pale. "Sarah, your cancer has been in complete remission since your March scans. Your tumor markers have been undetectable for months. According to these results, you beat this thing half a year ago." The 4 needle in my arm suddenly felt like it was on fire. "But you said..." "Marcus, you said the doctor told you I needed at least 9 months of treatment. You said..." "Someone has been lying to you," Dr. Morrison interrupted, his eyes fixed on Marcus. "And I need to understand who and why, because what we've been putting into your body for the last 6 months. He gestured toward my 4 line. "For someone in remission, continued chemotherapy isn't just unnecessary. It's dangerous. Potentially fatal." Marcus had gone completely still, his phone forgotten in his lap. The color had drained from his face, but his eyes weren't confused like mine were. They were calculating. That's when I knew. The silence stretched between us like a wire about to snap. I could hear Mrs. Patterson coughing 3 chairs down, the steady beep of someone's heart monitor, the distant murmur of nurses at their station. But in our little corner of the chemo suite, everything had stopped. "Marcus." My voice came out as a whisper. "Tell me you didn't know." He opened his mouth, then closed it. For 8 years of marriage, I'd never seen him speechless. Marcus always had an answer, always had a plan. He was the one who'd held me when I got the diagnosis, who'd driven me to every appointment, who'd researched treatment centers and insurance coverage and... Insurance coverage. Dr. Morrison, I said, not taking my eyes off my husband's face, how much does chemotherapy cost? "Sarah, that's not really relevant right now." "How much?" "With your specific protocol?" "Around 15,000 per session." 15,000. Times 12 sessions over 6 months. I felt sick, and for once it wasn't from the chemo. "Marcus handles all our medical bills," I said slowly. He said insurance was covering most of it, but that we were still responsible for about 3,000 per treatment out of pocket. Marcus finally found his voice. "Sarah, you're confused. The cancer, the medications, they affect your memory sometimes. Dr. Morrison, surely you can explain to my wife that." "Mr. Chen." Dr. Morrison's voice cut through Marcus's words like a scalpel. "I need you to step outside. Now. I'm not leaving my wife when she's..." "You're not being asked." 2 security guards had appeared in the doorway. I hadn't even noticed Dr. Morrison's signal for them. "We need to speak with Mrs. Chen privately." I watched my husband's face cycle through emotions I'd never seen before. Panic. Rage. Something that looked almost like grief. As the security guards escorted him out, he turned back to me. "Sarah, baby, don't listen to whatever they tell you. You know I love you. You know I'd never..." The door closed behind him with a soft click. Dr. Morrison immediately moved to my 4 line. "We're stopping this treatment right now." His hands were shaking as he clamped the tubing. "Sarah, I need you to understand something. In 30 years of oncology, I have never seen anything like this. He's been paying you to poison me." The words fell out of my mouth before I'd even fully formed the thought. "That's what this is, isn't it? He's been paying you to continue treatments I don't need." "No." Dr. Morrison's voice was fierce. "I would never knowingly harm a patient. But someone has been intercepting our communications. The phone calls I thought were from you about scheduling? The messages about your scan results? I think they were all from him." He pulled up a chair, his face grave. "Sarah, I need to ask you something, and I want you to think very carefully. Has Marcus been handling all communication with my office?" I thought back over the months of appointments, phone calls, insurance paperwork. He said he wanted to take care of everything medical so I could focus on getting better. He said it was too stressful for me to deal with. "And your test results? Your scan reports?" He always went over them with me. He said the medical terminology was too confusing, so he'd translate everything into simple terms. My stomach dropped. Oh God. I never saw the actual reports, did I? Dr. Morrison was already reaching for his phone. "We need to call the police." "Wait." I grabbed Dr. Morrison's arm before he could dial. "If we call the police right now, what happens to Marcus?" "He gets arrested for attempted murder, medical fraud, and God knows what else." Dr. Morrison's voice was grim. Sarah, this man has been systematically poisoning you for 6 months. He's stolen hundreds of thousands of dollars and he'll lawyer up immediately. My mind was racing, clicking through possibilities like I was back in my old job doing forensic accounting. Dr. Morrison, how much money has he actually paid you? For the unnecessary treatments? He pulled up something on his tablet, scrolling through billing records. Jesus. $180,000 over 6 months. All paid in cash, which I thought was unusual, but he said you preferred to handle medical expenses that way for tax purposes. $180,000 in cash. Marcus was a software engineer at a mid-sized firm. His salary was good, but not that good. Where the hell did he get that kind of money? Sarah, that's something for the police to figure out. No, it's something I need to figure out. I was thinking about our joint savings account, the one Marcus said had been drained by medical expenses. About the life insurance policy he'd insisted we increase last year just in case. About the way he'd been so insistent on handling everything himself. Dr. Morrison, I need to ask you for something that's going to sound crazy. He set his phone down, studying my face. I'm listening. I need you to not call the police yet. And I need you to tell Marcus that the treatments made me sicker, that I've taken a turn for the worse. Absolutely not. I will not lie about a patient's condition, especially after what's just happened. You wouldn't be lying. I gestured to my reflection in the window. After 6 months of unnecessary chemo, I looked like death. Bald, skeletal, gray-skinned. Look at me. I am sick. This poison he's been feeding me has nearly killed me, hasn't it? Dr. Morrison's expression grew troubled. Your blood work from last week showed some concerning numbers. White blood cell count dangerously low, liver function compromised. Sarah, if you continued this treatment much longer. How much longer? Maybe 2 more sessions. 3 at the outside. 2 more sessions. 6 more weeks, and Marcus would have gotten exactly what he wanted. He's planning to kill me, and he's almost succeeded. Which means he's got an exit strategy. Money hidden somewhere, maybe even another life lined up. I thought about all the late nights he'd been working, the business trips that seemed to happen more and more frequently. I need time to figure out what he's really been doing. Sarah, this is incredibly dangerous. If he realizes we know. He already realizes something's wrong. Did you see his face when you mentioned the clear scans? He's not stupid. I pulled out my phone, staring at the screen. 17 missed calls from Marcus in the last 10 minutes. But if you tell him that reviewing my case more carefully, you've realized the chemo has caused dangerous complications, that I need to be hospitalized for monitoring. You want him to think he succeeded. I want him to think he's close to succeeding. Close enough that he'll make mistakes. The phone buzzed with another call. Marcus again. Dr. Morrison, my husband has spent 6 months slowly murdering me while pretending to love me. While holding my hand during treatments that were killing me. While talking about our future together. My voice cracked. I need to know why. I need to know who he really is. And I need to make sure he never gets the chance to do this to anyone else. Dr. Morrison stared at me for a long moment. What exactly are you proposing? That we give Marcus exactly what he wants. But on my terms this time. Dr. Morrison was quiet for so long I thought he might refuse. Finally, he rubbed his temples and let out a shaky breath. If we're going to do this, and I'm still not sure we should, we need to be extremely careful. One mistake and you could end up actually dead. What would you need to tell him? Medically, I mean. Severe pancytopenia from the prolonged chemotherapy. Dangerously low blood counts, compromised immune system, possible organ failure. He was speaking in his clinical voice, but I could see his hands trembling. I'd tell him we need to hospitalize you immediately for intensive monitoring. That your condition is critical. Critical. The word hung in the air between us like a death sentence. Which, I realized, it almost had been. How long would that buy me? In a real scenario? Maybe a week or 2 before. He trailed off, unable to finish the sentence. Before I died from the treatments he paid you to give me. I felt oddly calm saying it. Okay. So Marcus thinks he has a week, maybe 2, before he collects on my life insurance. That's not much time. Sarah, what exactly are you planning to do in that week? Before I could answer, my phone rang again. This time it wasn't Marcus, it was my sister Jenny. I stared at the screen, realizing I hadn't talked to her in months. Every time she'd called, Marcus had said I was too sick, too tired, needed to rest. He'd been isolating me from everyone who might have asked questions. I need to answer this, I told Dr. Morrison, then picked up. Jen? Sarah? Oh my god, I've been trying to reach you for hours. Marcus called me and said you'd taken a turn for the worse? That you were being hospitalized? Her voice was high with panic. I'm driving down from Portland right now. I'll be there in 3 hours. Marcus had already started spinning the story. Of course he had. Jenny, slow down. Where did Marcus say I was being hospitalized? Sacred Heart. He said you were in the ICU and that visiting hours were restricted, but that he'd call me when. She started crying. Sarah, he made it sound like you were dying. Sacred Heart was across town from the cancer center. Far enough that if Jenny showed up looking for me, she wouldn't accidentally run into Marcus here. He was thinking ahead, controlling the narrative just like he'd been doing for months. Jen, listen to me very carefully. Don't go to Sacred Heart yet. Can you come to Dr. Morrison's office instead? At the cancer center? Why? Marcus said you were too sick for visitors. Marcus has been lying about a lot of things. I looked at Dr. Morrison, who was watching my face intently. Jenny, I need you to do something for me, and I need you not to ask questions until you get here. Can you do that? You're scaring me. Good. You should be scared. I need you to go to your laptop right now. Are you still driving? I pulled over when you said not to go to the hospital. Sarah, what the hell is going on? I need you to look up the phone number for Marcus's work. Pinnacle Software Solutions. Call them and ask to speak to Marcus Chin. But he's at the hospital with you. Just do it. Please. I heard her fingers tapping on her phone, then the sound of a call connecting. A A few seconds later, "Hi, this is Jenny Walsh, Marcus Chen's sister-in-law. Is he available?" A pause. Then Jenny's voice, confused. "He's what? Since when?" My stomach clenched. "Okay, thank you." She hung up and came back to me. "Sarah, they said Marcus took a leave of absence 3 weeks ago. Extended personal leave to care for his sick wife." Another pause. "But he told me yesterday that he was working overtime to pay for your medical bills." 3 weeks. Marcus hadn't been going to work for 3 weeks, but he'd been leaving the house every morning in his work clothes, coming home every evening complaining about difficult projects and demanding clients. Where the hell had he been spending his days? "Jenny, forget Portland. I need you to come here right now." "Jenny, I need you to do one more thing before you come here," I said, my mind racing through the implications of Marcus's fake job situation. "Go to our house first." "Sarah, I really think I should just come to you. The spare key is still under the fake rock by the front steps, right? I need you to get into Marcus's home office. Look for anything financial, bank statements, insurance papers, anything that doesn't look normal. I was thinking about that $180,000 in cash. And Jen? Take pictures of everything with your phone, but don't move anything. Don't let him know you were there." Dr. Morrison was making frantic notes on his tablet. When I hung up, he looked at me with something between admiration and terror. "You realize we're potentially obstructing justice here. If the police find out we delayed reporting this, the police can't arrest him for attempted murder if we can't prove intent." I thought about Marcus's careful planning, his control over every piece of information I'd received. Right now, all we have is evidence that he paid for medical treatments and lied about my test results. A good lawyer could argue he was just confused about the medical terminology, or that he was in denial about my recovery. "Sarah, no lawyer in the world could explain away $180,000 in fraudulent medical payments. Where did that money come from?" I interrupted. "That's the question that's going to determine whether Marcus gets charged with attempted murder or just insurance fraud and medical malpractice. If he liquidated our savings to pay for what he genuinely believed was my treatment, that's one thing. But if he took out loans against my life insurance, or if he's got money hidden away somewhere..." Dr. Morrison's eyes widened. "You think he's been planning this for longer than 6 months? I think March wasn't when I beat cancer. I think March was when Marcus decided I needed to die." The words felt surreal coming out of my mouth. "Dr. Morrison, when you told us I was in remission, back in March, who exactly did you tell?" He pulled up his records, scrolling back through months of notes. "I called your home number on March 15th to give you the good news about your clear scans. Spoke to Marcus. He said you were sleeping but that he'd give you the message." His face went pale. "You never got that message, did you?" March 15th was the day Marcus surprised me with a weekend trip to the coast. He said I needed to get away from all the medical stress, just focus on healing. I remembered that weekend now with horrible clarity. How romantic he'd been, how he'd talked about our future together, how he'd made love to me like it might be the last time. He told me that Monday that you'd called with some test results, but that there were some irregularities that needed more investigation. That we'd need to continue treatment for at least 6 more months to be sure. Jesus Christ. Dr. Morrison set down his tablet with shaking hands. "He's been planning your murder for 8 months. My phone buzzed with a text from Jenny. "Holy shit, Sarah, call me right now." I dialed her back immediately. "What did you find?" "I'm in Marcus's office and Sarah, there are insurance papers everywhere. Different companies, different policies. How many life insurance policies do you have?" "1. We bought it last year when Marcus got the promotion. $500,000. Try 3 policies. I'm looking at paperwork for Mutual Benefit Life, Northwestern Life, and something called Pinnacle Financial Services. Sarah, these are all for different amounts, and they're all dated within the last 18 months. The room started spinning. How much total?" I'm adding it up. Jesus. $1.8 million. And Sarah, there's something else. I found a lease agreement for an apartment across town. 1247, Riverside Drive, Unit 304. Monthly rent is $3,200, and it's been paid through next March. $3,200 a month for an apartment I'd never heard of. Check the lease name. It's under Marcus Chen and Amanda Reeves. Who the hell is Amanda Reeves? I closed my eyes, pieces clicking into place like a lock opening. She's the reason I need to die. Dr. Morrison was staring at me. "Sarah, we need to call the police right now. This has gone way beyond medical fraud." "No." My voice was steady now, cold. "We call the police now, and Marcus lawyers up. Those insurance policies get tied up in legal proceedings for years. Amanda Reeves disappears. And all we can prove is that my husband lied about some medical tests." "What are you suggesting?" "I'm suggesting that Marcus thinks I'm going to be dead in 2 weeks anyway. Let's see how far he's willing to go to make that happen." I looked at Dr. Morrison. "How quickly can you fake my deterioration?" "Sarah, this is insane." "Jenny," I said into the phone, "I need you to photograph everything in that office, then get out of there. Come to the cancer center, but park around back and don't let Marcus see you if he shows up." "What are you planning to do?" Jenny's voice was tight with fear. I thought about Marcus holding my hand through months of treatments that were slowly killing me. About him making love to me while planning my funeral. About Amanda Reeves, whoever she was, waiting in their secret apartment for me to die so they could start their life together on my insurance money. "I'm going to give Marcus exactly what he's been working so hard for," I said. "Just not the way he expects it." After I hung up with Jenny, Dr. Morrison and I spent the next hour crafting what he grimly called the most elaborate medical deception of his career. We decided I'd be admitted to Sacred Heart under the pretense of severe complications from chemotherapy poisoning, which, ironically, wasn't far from the truth. "Your white blood cell count is actually dangerously low," Dr. Morrison explained as he typed up falsified notes on his computer. "I'm going to tell Marcus that your numbers crashed overnight and you're at severe risk of septic shock. That you need immediate isolation and intensive monitoring." "How long can you realistically say that would take?" "For someone in your condition? Could be anywhere from a week to indefinitely." He couldn't meet my eyes when he said it. Sarah, in a real scenario with blood counts this low, patients don't always recover. My phone rang. Marcus again, his 15th call in 2 hours. Answer it, Dr. Morrison said. But remember, you're supposed to be getting sicker. I picked up on the 4th ring, making my voice weak and shaky. Marcus? Baby, thank God. The security guards wouldn't let me back in, and Dr. Morrison won't return my calls. Are you okay? What's happening? I don't feel good. That part wasn't acting. Between the shock of learning the truth and the lingering effects of months of unnecessary chemo, I genuinely felt like I was dying. They want to move me to a hospital. Something about my blood work. Which hospital? I'll meet you there. Sacred Heart. But Marcus, they said I might not be allowed visitors at first. Something about infection risk. I heard him exhale. Was that relief? Dr. Morrison wants to talk to you about my treatment options. Treatment options? His voice sharpened. What kind of treatment options? Through the window, I could see Dr. Morrison pacing in the hallway, phone pressed to his ear. He caught my eye and nodded. Marcus had called him on the other line. I have to go, I whispered into the phone. They need to do more tests. Sarah, wait, I love you, baby. Whatever happens, remember that I love you more than anything. The line went dead, and I sat staring at my phone. 8 years of marriage, and I'd never heard Marcus's voice sound like that when he said he loved me. There was something final about it, like he was already saying goodbye. 20 minutes later, Dr. Morrison returned with an expression that made my stomach clench. He asked very specific questions about your prognosis, he said quietly. Wanted to know exactly how long you might have, whether you'd be conscious toward the end, what the process would look like. What did you tell him? I told him that with blood counts this low, if you developed an infection, it could be a matter of days. He asked if you'd suffer. Dr. Morrison's voice cracked slightly. Sarah, when I told him you'd likely just slip into unconsciousness, he said that's a blessing. But the way he said it. He's relieved, I finished. He's relieved that his plan is finally working. My phone buzzed with a text from Jenny, *OMG found Marcus's laptop. He left it open. You need to see this now, *. I called her immediately. What is it? Email chain between Marcus and someone named Amanda. Sarah, they've been planning this for over a year. Her voice was shaking. There are messages about how much longer your treatments need to continue, about which insurance companies investigate claims most thoroughly, about, oh God, Sarah, about what kind of funeral arrangements would look most convincing. The blood drained from my face. They planned my funeral? There's a whole folder labeled Sarah's Memorial. Reception venue quotes, catering options, flower arrangements. They've thought of everything. Dr. Morrison grabbed my arm as I swayed in my chair. Sarah, we're calling the police right now. This is evidence of premeditated murder. Jenny, what else is on that laptop? I managed to say. Travel confirmations. 2 tickets to Costa Rica departing next Friday, that's 8 days from now. Reservations at some resort place called Villa Pacifica for Marcus Chen and Amanda Chen. She paused. Sarah, they're planning to leave the country. And according to these emails, they're planning to leave right after your funeral. Jenny, I need you to forward all those emails to my personal account right now, I said, my voice steadier than I felt. Then close the laptop exactly how you found it and get out of there. Sarah, there's more. I found bank statements in his desk drawer. Marcus has been moving money around for months, taking cash advances on credit cards, liquidating investment accounts. But here's the weird part, he's been depositing the insurance money into an account that already has $400,000 in it. $400,000. Where did that money come from? I don't know, but the deposits go back 2 years. Way before you were even diagnosed. I heard papers rustling. And Sarah? There are medical records in here, but they're not yours. They're for someone named Patricia Reeves, dated 3 years ago. Ovarian cancer, stage 4. Patricia Reeves. Amanda's last name was Reeves. Jenny, get out of there now. Don't take anything with you except the photos on your phone. I'm already walking to my car, wait. Her voice dropped to a whisper. Marcus just pulled into the driveway. Shit, Sarah, what do I do? My heart stopped. Is there a back door? I'm already outside, but my car is parked on the street. If he sees it. Jenny, listen to me very carefully. Walk to the neighbor's house, the Hendersons, you remember them? Tell them you're visiting me and ask if you can wait there for a few minutes. Say you thought I was home, but I must be at an appointment. Okay. I'm walking over there now. Through the phone, I could hear Marcus's car door slam, then the sound of our front door opening. Had he come home to check if anyone had been in his office? Or was he there to collect something, evidence, money, or God knew what else? Dr. Morrison was watching my face with growing alarm. What's happening? Marcus is home, and my sister was just in his office. I covered the phone's microphone. If he finds out she was there. 5 agonizing minutes later, Jenny called back. I'm safe. I'm at the Hendersons' house, and Marcus's car is gone. Mrs. Henderson said he was only inside for maybe 3 minutes before he left again. Did you see him leave with anything? A gym bag and his laptop. He put them in his trunk. The laptop with all the evidence. Of course he'd taken it. Marcus was too careful to leave a trail that obvious. But if he'd grabbed it that quickly, it meant he suspected something. Maybe Dr. Morrison's phone call had spooked him more than we'd realized. Jenny, I need you to get to the cancer center right now. But don't come to the main entrance, there's a staff parking area around back near the loading dock. Wait for me there. After I hung up, Dr. Morrison pulled up his phone. Sarah, I know you want to handle this yourself, but your sister could have been in serious danger just now. We need to call the police. We will. But first I need to understand what we're really dealing with. I thought about Patricia Reeves and that mysterious $400,000. Dr. Morrison, can you look up a patient named Patricia Reeves? She had ovarian cancer about 3 years ago. He hesitated, then logged into the hospital system. Sarah, patient records are confidential. If I'm right about this, Patricia Reeves isn't worried about her privacy anymore. Dr. Morrison typed in the name and his face went white. Patricia Reeves, age 29, diagnosed with stage 4 ovarian cancer in February 2021. He scrolled down through her file. She was treated here for 8 months, then. He stopped reading. Then what? She died from complications related to chemotherapy toxicity. Her oncologist noted that she'd been receiving an unusually aggressive treatment protocol that her primary physician had recommended. Dr. Morrison's hands were shaking as he continued reading. Her husband was listed as her primary emergency contact and medical decision-maker. Marcus Chen. The room tilted around me. Marcus was married before. According to this, Patricia Reeves and Marcus Chen were married in 2020. She had a life insurance policy through her employer, $500,000. The claim was paid out 6 months after her death, in March 2022. Dr. Morrison looked up at me, his face ashen. Sarah, that's almost exactly when Marcus started dating you. Marcus had done this before. He'd married a woman, waited for her to get sick, then manipulated her medical care until the treatment killed her. And he'd used her insurance money to fund his next murder. My murder. Amanda Reeves, I said slowly. She's Patricia's sister, isn't she? She has to be. Dr. Morrison was already searching the system. Amanda Reeves, listed as Patricia's emergency contact and next of kin. He pulled up her information. Works as a medical billing specialist at Riverside Insurance Group. Riverside Insurance. The same company that had issued 2 of my life insurance policies. She's been helping him, I realized. Amanda works for an insurance company. She knows exactly how to file claims, how to avoid investigations, how to make everything look legitimate. The scope of their plan was staggering. They killed Patricia together, and now they're doing it to me. My phone rang again. Marcus. Answer it, Dr. Morrison said grimly. But Sarah, after this call, we're contacting the police. This is way beyond what we can handle alone. I picked up the phone. Marcus? How are you feeling, baby? I just stopped by the house to pick up some things for your hospital stay. Your overnight bag, some comfortable clothes. His voice was warm, concerned, loving. The same voice that had probably comforted Patricia Reeves as she died from the poison he'd been feeding her. I'm scared, I whispered, and for once I wasn't acting. I know, sweetheart. But Dr. Morrison says they're going to take really good care of you at Sacred Heart. And Sarah? I want you to know that whatever happens, these have been the best 8 years of my life. You've made me happier than I ever thought possible. 8 years. The exact length of our marriage. Was he already practicing his eulogy? Will you stay with me at the hospital? I'll stay as long as they let me. But baby, if the doctors say you need to rest, I might have to step out sometimes. There are some work things I need to handle, insurance paperwork, medical leave documentation. I want to make sure everything is taken care of so I can focus completely on you. Insurance paperwork. He was already filing the claims. I love you, Marcus. I love you too, Sarah. More than you'll ever know. After I hung up, Dr. Morrison and I sat in silence for a moment. Finally, he spoke. We're going to get him. Both of them. But Sarah, you have to promise me something. When this is over, when Marcus and Amanda are behind bars, you'll get real medical treatment for what this prolonged chemo has done to your body. Your blood counts, your liver function, you're going to need months of recovery. I promise. I looked out the window at the parking lot, where Marcus had held my hand through so many appointments, where he'd celebrated with me after treatments that were slowly killing me. But first, we're going to make sure he never gets the chance to do this to anyone else. Dr. Morrison picked up his phone. I'm calling Detective Rodriguez. She handled a medical fraud case for us last year. She'll know how to build a case that'll stick. As he dialed, I thought about Patricia Reeves, who died alone and scared, trusting the man who was murdering her. I thought about how many other women there might be, how many other Marcus Chens were out there right now, sitting in hospital rooms and holding hands with wives they were planning to kill. Not anymore. Not if I could help it. Detective Rodriguez arrived 40 minutes later with a grim expression and a briefcase full of recording equipment. She was younger than I'd expected, maybe mid-30s, with sharp eyes that missed nothing as she surveyed the cancer center's consultation room where we'd gathered. Mrs. Chen, I need you to understand something before we proceed, she said, setting up what looked like a small digital recorder on the table between us. What your husband has done to you constitutes attempted murder, insurance fraud, and conspiracy. But building a case that'll hold up in court, especially against someone who's clearly been planning this for years, requires ironclad evidence. What kind of evidence? I asked, though I suspected I already knew the answer. We need him to incriminate himself. On tape. She glanced at Dr. Morrison. The doctor's records and your sister's photographs are helpful, but a good defense attorney could argue that your husband genuinely believed he was helping with your medical care. We need proof of intent. My phone buzzed with another text from Jenny. Asterisk just saw Amanda Reeves leaving the apartment on Riverside Drive. Blonde, early 30s, driving a white BMW. She had suitcases, asterisk. I showed the message to Detective Rodriguez. They're already packing to leave. That's actually good news, she said, surprising me. It means they're rushing, getting sloppy. People make mistakes when they're under pressure. She pulled out a small device that looked like a hearing aid. This is a wireless transmitter. We're going to wire you for your hospital stay. Is that safe? If Marcus finds it. He won't. It's designed to look like medical equipment, heart monitor leads, for sensors. We'll coordinate with Sacred Heart staff to make everything appear legitimate. Detective Rodriguez leaned forward. But Sarah, I need you to understand the risks. If Marcus realizes you know the truth, if he suspects we're investigating him, he might decide to accelerate his timeline. Meaning he might try to kill me faster. Meaning he might try to kill you tonight. The room went quiet except for the hum of the building's ventilation system. Dr. Morrison cleared his throat. Detective, surely there's a safer way to handle this. Surveillance, financial investigation. Mr. Chen has been careful. Very careful. The apartment lease, the insurance policies, even the payments to Dr. Morrison, technically, none of it's illegal if he genuinely believed his wife needed continued treatment. She looked at me seriously. Sarah, without a recording of Marcus admitting he knew you were in remission, or discussing his plan with Amanda, we might not be able to charge him with anything more serious than insurance fraud. And he'd be out in 2 years, I said flatly. Maybe less. My phone rang. Marcus again, right on schedule. Detective Rodriguez nodded toward the recording equipment. Answer it. But remember, we're not recording yet, this is just practice. I want to hear how he talks to you, what his normal communication pattern sounds like. I picked up on the third ring. Hi. Hey baby, how are you feeling? I'm at Sacred Heart now, talking to the nurses about your admission. His voice carried that same loving concern that had fooled me for months. They're setting up a room for you in the isolation unit. Private room, restricted access, exactly what you need to recover. Isolation unit. Private room. Restricted access. All perfect conditions for finishing what he'd started. When will I be moved there? Dr. Morrison wants to transport you in about an hour. I'll ride with you in the ambulance, okay? And Sarah, the nurses here are amazing. They promised me they'll take excellent care of you. After I hung up, Detective Rodriguez made notes on her tablet. He's competent, controlling the narrative, already establishing himself as the devoted husband at the hospital. Classic behavior pattern. She looked up at me. Sarah, when you're admitted tonight, I need you to try to get him talking about 3 specific things: your insurance policies, your future together, and what happens if your condition doesn't improve. You want me to ask my husband what happens when I die. I want you to ask your husband what he's planning for your recovery. Let him be the one who steers the conversation toward worst-case scenarios. She handed me a small card with phone numbers written on it. Hospital security, my direct line, and emergency backup. If anything feels wrong, if Marcus's behavior changes, if you feel unsafe for any reason, you call immediately. Dr. Morrison was reviewing my fake medical chart. I've coordinated with Sacred Heart's oncology team. As far as their records show, you're being admitted for severe chemotherapy complications with a guarded prognosis. Only 3 people at the hospital know the truth: the head of security, your attending physician, and the nursing supervisor. What about visiting hours? Won't Marcus expect to stay with me? Family members of critical patients are usually allowed extended visiting privileges, Detective Rodriguez said. Which is exactly what we want. The more time he spends in your room, the more chances he'll have to say something incriminating. Jenny appeared in the doorway, her face flushed from running. Sarah, I followed Amanda Reeves to a storage unit facility on Industrial Boulevard. She spent 20 minutes inside Unit 247, loading boxes into her car. She handed me her phone, showing photos she'd taken from across the parking lot. I couldn't see what was in the boxes, but they looked heavy. Detective Rodriguez studied the photos. We'll get a warrant for that storage unit, but it'll take time. Sarah, is there any way you could get Marcus to mention what they've stored there? Before I could answer, my phone rang again. This time it was Sacred Heart Hospital. Mrs. Chen? This is Nurse Patricia from the oncology unit. We're ready for your admission whenever you'd like to come in. Her voice was professional, but I caught the slight emphasis on the name Patricia. Someone at the hospital definitely knew what was happening. I'll be there within the hour, I said. As I hung up, Detective Rodriguez stood and began packing up her equipment. Sarah, once you walk into that hospital room, there's no going back. Marcus is going to be watching your every reaction, listening to every word you say. You have to be dying, but not dead yet. Scared, but still trusting him. It's going to be the performance of your life. I thought about Patricia Reeves, who'd probably trusted Marcus right up until the end. Who'd maybe even thanked him for taking such good care of her medical decisions. Detective Rodriguez, I said, what happens if we can't get him to confess? What happens if he's smarter than we think? She met my eyes steadily. Then we make sure you survive long enough for us to find another way to stop him. The ambulance ride to Sacred Heart felt like a funeral procession. Marcus held my hand the entire 20-minute drive, stroking my knuckles with his thumb the way he used to when we were dating. The paramedic kept checking my vitals, part of the charade Dr. Morrison had orchestrated, while Marcus asked concerned questions about my blood pressure, my temperature, whether the transport was too stressful for someone in my condition. She's been so strong through all of this, he told the paramedic, his voice thick with what sounded like genuine emotion. 9 months of fighting, and she never complained. Not once. 9 months. I'd been diagnosed 9 months ago, but I'd been in remission for 6 of them. Marcus was already revising the timeline, making my suffering sound more heroic, more tragic. Better for the eulogy he'd probably already written. The room at Sacred Heart was everything he'd promised, private, quiet, with restricted access that required visitors to check in with the nursing station. Marcus immediately began arranging my things, hanging up the clothes he'd brought from home, setting up my phone charger, making everything comfortable for what he believed would be my final days. The nurses said they'll be monitoring you closely, he said, adjusting my pillows for the 3rd time. Blood work every 4 hours, around-the-clock observation. Sarah, you're going to get the best possible care. I let my voice sound weak, exhausted. What did Dr. Morrison tell you about my prognosis? Marcus sat down in the chair beside my bed, taking my hand again. He said your body is having a hard time bouncing back from the treatments. That your immune system is compromised. He paused, studying my face. Baby, he said the next few days are going to be critical. Critical how? He said if your blood counts don't start improving soon. Marcus's voice trailed off, but his eyes were alert, watching my reaction carefully. Sarah, I don't want you to worry about anything except getting better. I've taken care of all the paperwork, all the insurance claims, everything. Insurance claims. The recording device hidden under my hospital gown felt warm against my skin. What kind of paperwork? Just medical leave documentation, making sure your policies are up to date. I want to be prepared for anything. He squeezed my hand tighter. I've been thinking about what you said last month, about wanting to travel more if you beat this. Maybe we should have done that sooner. Last month I'd never said anything about travel. Marcus was creating memories that didn't exist, building a narrative of regret and lost opportunities. Where would we have gone? Costa Rica, maybe. Somewhere warm, tropical. Somewhere we could have just disappeared together. His voice carried a wistful tone that made my stomach clench. I actually looked into some resorts there. Villa Pacifica looked beautiful, right on the beach, very private. Villa Pacifica. The same resort where Jenny had found reservations for Marcus and Amanda Chin. He was describing his honeymoon destination while sitting beside what he thought was my deathbed. That sounds wonderful, I whispered. Maybe when I get out of here. Of course, baby. When you get out of here, we'll go anywhere you want. But something shifted in his expression, a flicker of something that looked almost like impatience. Although Dr. Morrison did say we should be realistic about your recovery timeline. A knock at the door interrupted us. A blonde woman in scrubs entered, tall, early 30s, with the kind of confident stride that suggested she belonged here. She checked the name tag hanging around my neck, then looked at Marcus. Mr. Chen? I'm Amanda, the night nursing supervisor. I wanted to introduce myself and let you know I'll be personally overseeing your wife's care during this admission. Amanda. Standing 3 feet away from me, pretending to be a nurse, speaking in the same caring tone Marcus used when he was lying. She was prettier than I'd expected, with kind eyes that made her deception even more chilling. Amanda will be taking excellent care of you, Marcus said, and I caught the way his voice changed when he said her name. Warmer, more intimate. I've already spoken with her about your specific needs. We want to make sure you're as comfortable as possible, Amanda said, checking my foreline with practiced efficiency. Mr. Chen has been very thorough in explaining your medical history. She was good. If I didn't know who she really was, I'd have trusted her completely. But I could see the way she and Marcus moved around each other, the subtle glances they exchanged, the familiarity that came from months of planning my death together. I'll let you two have some privacy, Amanda said, heading toward the door. But Mr. Chen, remember what we discussed about visiting hours? Mrs. Chen needs her rest. After she left, Marcus turned back to me with an expression I'd never seen before, something between relief and anticipation. She seems very competent, he said. Very professional. And I realized with a chill that Marcus thought he'd just introduced me to the woman who was going to help him finish what he'd started. The next few hours passed in a carefully choreographed dance of deception. Amanda returned every 30 minutes to check my vitals, each time staying just long enough to exchange meaningful glances with Marcus. During one of her visits, she adjusted my Ford drip, a bag of harmless saline that Marcus believed contained the medications keeping me alive. Her numbers are still dropping, Amanda told Marcus in a hushed tone, just loud enough for me to hear. Dr. Morrison wants to try a more aggressive approach tomorrow morning. Marcus nodded gravely. Whatever it takes. Cost isn't a factor. After Amanda left, I caught Marcus checking his phone repeatedly, typing messages he thought I was too weak to notice. Around midnight, he finally stepped into the hallway to take a call, speaking in whispers I couldn't make out through the door. When he returned, his entire demeanor had changed. The worried husband mask had slipped slightly, replaced by something that looked almost like excitement. That was work, he said, though I knew he hadn't been employed for 3 weeks. They're being very understanding about my family leave situation. Told me to take as much time as I need. That's generous of them. They know how much I love you, Marcus said, sitting back down beside my bed. Sarah, I want you to know that no matter what happens, you've made me a very wealthy man. I nearly choked on those words. Wealthy. Not happy, not fulfilled, wealthy. What do you mean? Marcus's eyes softened into that familiar expression of devotion I now recognized as completely false. Wealthy in love, in memories. These 8 years with you have been worth more than any amount of money. He paused, stroking my hand again. Although speaking of money, I did want to mention something. I've been reviewing our insurance policies, and I realized we never updated the beneficiary information on your Northwestern Life policy. My pulse quickened. What needs to be updated? Just some paperwork. When you bought that policy last year, you listed your sister Jenny as the secondary beneficiary. But given how estranged you two have become lately, I thought you might want to change that. Estranged? Jenny and I had never been estranged. Marcus had been intercepting her calls, telling me she was too busy to visit, gradually isolating me from everyone who might have questioned my treatment. Who would I change it to? Well, I'm already the primary beneficiary, but for the secondary. Marcus pulled out a folded paper from his jacket pocket. I was thinking maybe Amanda. She's been so helpful with your medical care, and she doesn't have any family of her own. Amanda Reeves, who'd helped kill her own sister. Who'd spent months planning my death while pretending to be a nurse. Marcus wanted to make her the beneficiary of my life insurance policy. I don't know if I'm thinking clearly enough to make those kinds of decisions right now, I said weakly. Of course, baby. We don't have to do anything tonight. But I caught the flash of frustration that crossed his face. It's just that if something were to happen unexpectedly, I'd want to make sure your wishes were honored. My phone, sitting on the bedside table, lit up with a text message. Marcus glanced at it automatically, then froze. Sarah, who's Detective Rodriguez? My blood turned to ice. The message preview was visible on the lock screen. Asterisk evidence team is in position. Storage unit warrant approved asterisk. I don't know, I stammered. Maybe it's about the car accident from last month? The insurance claim? Marcus was already picking up my phone, his expression darkening. Sarah, this message says evidence team. What evidence team? Before I could answer, Amanda burst through the door, her nursing supervisor facade completely dropped. Marcus, we have a problem. There are police cars in the hospital parking garage. The room went dead silent. Marcus looked from Amanda to my phone to my face, and I watched 8 years of careful planning crumble in his eyes as he realized the truth. You know, he said simply. There was no point in pretending anymore. I know everything, Marcus. Patricia Reeves. The apartment. Costa Rica. All of it. Amanda was already grabbing medical equipment from the supply cart, her hands moving with practiced efficiency. How long have you known? Since this afternoon. Since Dr. Morrison told me I'd been in remission for 6 months. Marcus stood slowly, his phone appearing in his hand. Amanda, how quickly can we move to contingency plan? Contingency plan. They'd prepared for this possibility. Give me 3 minutes, Amanda said, filling a syringe with something from an unmarked vial. If anyone asks, she went into cardiac arrest. Happens all the time with chemo patients. I reached for the call button, but Marcus was faster, yanking the cord out of the wall. I'm sorry it has to be this way, Sarah. I really did love you, in the beginning. Before you decided to kill me for money? Before I realized how much more I could love Amanda. His voice carried no remorse, only the cold calculation I now understood had been there all along. You were supposed to die peacefully, Sarah. You were supposed to just slip away in your sleep. This is going to be much more unpleasant. Amanda approached my bed with a syringe, and I realized with crystal clarity that Detective Rodriguez's recording equipment wasn't going to save me if I was dead. I had seconds before Amanda reached my foreline with whatever was in that syringe. My mind raced through options, scream for help, fight back, try to run, but my body was genuinely weak from months of unnecessary chemotherapy. Then I remembered the panic button Detective Rodriguez had given me, taped under the bed rail where Marcus couldn't see it. As Amanda leaned over to access my four-port, I pressed the button and started talking, loud enough for the hidden recording devices to pick up every word. Marcus, before you kill me like you killed Patricia, I need to know, was any of our marriage real? Amanda's hand froze. Patricia? How do you know about? Shut up, Marcus snapped, but the damage was done. He turned back to me, his expression shifting between rage and something that might have been admiration. How much do you actually know, Sarah? I know Patricia Reeves was your first wife. I know she died from chemotherapy toxicity just like you planned for me. I know Amanda is her sister, and you've been planning this for over a year. I could hear footsteps in the hallway, hopefully Detective Rodriguez's backup team. What I don't understand is how you could hold my hand through every treatment, knowing you were poisoning me. Marcus sat back down, his demeanor suddenly calm, almost conversational. Do you want to know the truth? The real truth? Marcus, we don't have time for this, Amanda hissed, still holding the syringe. Security will. No, I think Sarah deserves to understand. Marcus's voice carried that same loving tone he'd used throughout our marriage. The first 6 months of our marriage were real, Sarah. I did love you. But then you started talking about having children, about growing old together, about all these plans for our future. He shook his head slowly. I realized I was going to be stuck with you for 40 or 50 years, watching you get older, less interesting, more demanding. So you decided to kill me. I decided to love you for a perfect, finite amount of time. To give us both a beautiful ending before things got complicated. Marcus reached out as if to stroke my hair, and I jerked away. When you were diagnosed, it felt like fate. A natural conclusion to our story. Except I beat the cancer. Except you beat the cancer, he agreed. Which meant I had to help fate along. The footsteps in the hallway were getting closer, but Amanda was positioning the syringe again. Marcus, whatever sentimental bullshit you're working through, do it later. We need to finish this now. What's in the syringe? I asked, trying to keep him talking. Potassium chloride, Amanda said matter-of-factly. Stops the heart instantly. Same thing they use for lethal injections, but in a medical setting, it just looks like sudden cardiac arrest brought on by treatment complications. Just like Patricia. Amanda's face went cold. Patricia was weak. She gave up fighting, stopped following her treatment protocol. If she'd been stronger, you and Marcus wouldn't have inherited $500,000, I interrupted. How long did it take you to seduce your sister's husband, Amanda? Did you wait until after the funeral, or were you sleeping with him while she was dying? The slap came so fast I didn't see it coming. Amanda's hand cracked across my cheek, and for a moment her professional mask slipped completely. Patricia was pathetic, she snarled. Crying all the time, complaining about being scared, begging me to stay with her during treatments. She had no idea how to appreciate what Marcus was offering her, a beautiful death, a meaningful ending. She just wanted to cling to life like some desperate animal. And you helped kill her for it. I helped free her from a life she was too weak to live properly. Amanda raised the syringe again. Just like I'm going to free you. The door exploded inward as Detective Rodriguez and 3 uniformed officers burst into the room, weapons drawn. Step away from the patient, Rodriguez commanded. Now. Marcus raised his hand slowly, that charming smile spreading across his face one last time. Detective Rodriguez, I presume? I have to say, this is all very dramatic. My wife has been suffering from paranoid delusions brought on by her medications. I'm afraid she's convinced herself. Mr. Chen, we have recordings of everything you've said in the last 10 minutes, Rodriguez cut him off. Including your confession to murdering Patricia Reeves. Amanda made a desperate lunge toward my foreline with a syringe, but Officer Martinez tackled her before she could reach me. The potassium chloride spilled across the floor as she hit the ground hard, cursing. As the officers cuffed both Marcus and Amanda, Marcus looked back at me one last time. For what it's worth, Sarah, I really did plan to make it painless. That's more consideration than most people get. The booking process at the police station took 3 hours, during which I sat in Detective Rodriguez's office wrapped in a hospital blanket, giving my statement while paramedics monitored my actual vital signs. My hands wouldn't stop shaking, partly from shock, partly from the lingering effects of months of unnecessary chemotherapy. We found the storage unit, Rodriguez told me as she poured coffee into a paper cup. 47 boxes of documents dating back 4 years. Bank statements, insurance policies, medical records. Sarah, Marcus, and Amanda didn't just kill Patricia. We found evidence of at least 2 other women. I nearly dropped the coffee. 2 others? Linda Morrison in Phoenix, 2019. Breast cancer that went into remission, but she died from treatment complications 6 months later. And Rebecca Chen, yes, Chen, in Denver, 2017. Ovarian cancer, also died from chemotoxicity after her remission. Rodriguez pulled out a thick file folder. Marcus has been doing this for 7 years, moving from state to state, marrying women who get diagnosed with cancer. But how does he find them? How does he know who to target? Amanda works for Riverside Insurance Group, remember? She has access to medical claims databases across 12 states. She identifies women with new cancer diagnoses, no close family, good insurance policies. Then Marcus creates fake online dating profiles, engineers chance meetings. Rodriguez's voice was grim. They perfected this system, Sarah. You weren't random, you were specifically chosen. The scope of their operation made me dizzy. How many women did they research before picking me? We found files on 37 potential targets from the last 2 years alone. She handed me a photograph, a surveillance shot of me leaving my apartment building. They'd been watching you for 3 months before Marcus ever approached you at that coffee shop. The coffee shop where we'd met. Marcus had told me it was fate, bumping into me while I was reading alone on a Saturday morning. He'd seemed so genuinely sorry for spilling his latte on my book, so charmingly nervous when he asked if he could buy me a replacement. Every detail of our entire relationship had been a lie. Detective, what happens to the insurance money? The policies Marcus took out on me? Fraudulent policies are voided, so you won't see any of that money. But the companies will likely sue Marcus's estate to recover what they can. She paused. However, we did find something interesting in the storage unit. Marcus has been keeping detailed financial records of all his activities, including a separate account with over $2 million that he never told Amanda about. He was planning to betray her too. Looks like it. The travel reservations to Costa Rica? Only one ticket was actually paid for. Marcus's. Amanda's reservation was on hold, payment pending. Rodriguez showed me printouts from Marcus's laptop. We found emails between Marcus and someone named Elena Vasquez in San Jose. Apparently he's been planning his next marriage for months. I stared at the emails, seeing my own future written in Marcus's careful planning. Meet Elena, marry her, wait for her to get sick, then slowly kill her while planning the next victim. How long would he have kept doing this? Men like Marcus don't stop voluntarily. They get caught, or they die, but they don't just retire. Rodriguez's phone rang, and she glanced at the caller ID. That's the district attorney. They want to discuss plea deals, but frankly, with 4 murders and attempted murder, Marcus is looking at life without parole. What about Amanda? Conspiracy to commit murder, insurance fraud, practicing medicine without a license, accessory to murder in 4 cases. She's looking at 40 to life. Rodriguez stood up, gathering her files. Sarah, there's one more thing. The DA wants to know if you'd be willing to testify in the other cases. Linda Morrison's sister has been fighting for years to prove her death wasn't natural. Rebecca Chan's parents never believed the medical examiner's report. I thought about Patricia Reeves, dying alone while trusting the people who were killing her. About Linda Morrison and Rebecca Chan, and Elena Vasquez, who had no idea what Marcus was planning for her future. I'll testify, I said. I'll testify in every single case. 6 months later, I was sitting in a federal courthouse in Denver, waiting to testify in the Rebecca Chan murder trial, when my phone buzzed with a text that made my blood freeze. Asterisk Sarah, this is Elena Vasquez. I think we need to talk, asterisk. I stared at the message, my hands trembling the same way they had that night in the hospital. Elena Vasquez, the woman in Costa Rica Marcus had been planning to marry after my death. Detective Rodriguez had contacted her months ago to warn her about Marcus's plans, but this was the first time Elena had reached out directly. How did you get my number? I texted back. Asterisk Detective Rodriguez gave it to me. Sarah, I've been doing research on Marcus since she called me. I found something she needs to see. Something about his financial records that doesn't match what the police found, asterisk. Before I could respond, another message came through. Asterisk, I think there are more victims. And I think Amanda isn't the only one helping him, asterisk. My throat went dry. The prosecution had built their case around Marcus and Amanda as a 2-person operation, but what if they'd missed something? What if there was a larger network? Can you call me? I typed. I'm at the courthouse now, but I can step outside. My phone rang 30 seconds later. Elena's voice was heavily accented but clear, and she sounded as scared as I felt. Sarah, I work for an international banking firm here in San Jose. When Detective Rodriguez told me about Marcus's plan, I used my access to trace some of his offshore accounts. She paused, and I could hear papers shuffling. He has been moving money through banks in Panama, Costa Rica, and the Cayman Islands for 9 years, not 7. Much more money than 4 life insurance policies would account for. 9 years. How much more money? Over $8 million, deposited in patterns that suggest regular insurance payouts. Sarah, I think there are at least 6 more victims that the police haven't found yet. I sank onto a bench outside the courthouse, feeling sick. Elena, have you told Detective Rodriguez about this? I called her yesterday, but she said the federal investigation is focused only on the cases they can prove with physical evidence. Without bodies or medical records, they cannot pursue additional charges. Her voice grew urgent. But Sarah, I kept digging. I found communications between Marcus and 3 other people, not just Amanda. They have been running this operation like a business. 3 other people? A doctor in Phoenix named Dr. James Kellerman, who treated Linda Morrison. A medical billing specialist in Portland named Catherine Walsh. And someone using the name Michael Torres who appears to coordinate the recruitment. She took a shaky breath. Sarah, they have a list. A database of potential targets across 15 states. The courthouse steps suddenly felt like they were tilting beneath me. We hadn't caught a couple of serial killers, we'd uncovered a murder network. Elena, where are you right now? Are you safe? I'm in San Jose, but I'm not staying in my apartment. After I started looking into Marcus's accounts, someone broke into my office. They took my computer and all my files on the banking records. Her voice dropped to a whisper. Someone knows I've been investigating. My phone started buzzing with an incoming call. Detective Rodriguez. Elena, Detective Rodriguez is calling me. Stay on the line, I'm going to conference her in. Sarah? Rodriguez's voice was tense when I connected the call. Are you still at the courthouse? We need you to come in immediately. Amanda Reeves was found dead in her cell this morning. The world stopped. What? Apparent suicide, but the timing is suspicious. She was scheduled to give a deposition tomorrow about the financial structure of their operation. Rodriguez paused. Sarah, we think someone wanted to silence her before she could reveal information about additional conspirators. Detective, Elena's voice cut in. This is Elena Vasquez. I think Amanda's death proves what I've been trying to tell you. This network is much larger than you realize, and they're still active. There was a moment of silence before Rodriguez responded. Ms. Vasquez, I'm going to need you to send me every piece of financial evidence you found. And Sarah, we're putting you in protective custody immediately. If Elena's right about additional conspirators, you could be in serious danger. As I sat on those courthouse steps, listening to Elena and Rodriguez coordinate an expanded investigation, I realized that surviving Marcus's attempt to kill me had been only the beginning. Somewhere out there, other women were being watched, selected, slowly murdered by people who saw human lives as nothing more than insurance payouts. And now they knew I was the one who had exposed their operation. The safe house Detective Rodriguez arranged was a modest ranch home in a suburb 40 minutes outside the city. For the first 3 days, I felt like I was hiding from ghosts, jumping at every car door that slammed, every phone that rang, every shadow that moved past the windows. On Thursday morning, Elena called with news that made everything worse. Sarah, I've been working with a forensic accountant here in Costa Rica. We traced Marcus's banking patterns back to 2014. Her voice was strained, like she'd been awake for days. The first deposit was for exactly $750,000, too much for a single life insurance policy. I was sitting at the kitchen table, surrounded by case files Rodriguez had brought me. Photos of Linda Morrison, Rebecca Chan, Patricia Reeves. Women who'd trusted the wrong person. What does that mean? It means Marcus didn't start this operation. Someone else did, and Marcus joined later. Elena paused, and I heard her typing rapidly. Sarah, I found the original account holder. It was opened by someone named Dr. James Kellerman in Phoenix. Dr. Kellerman, the same name Elena had mentioned before, Linda Morrison's doctor. He's been running this longer than Marcus? Since 2014. And Sarah, I found something else. Dr. Kellerman has been making regular payments to medical professionals in 6 different states. $50,000 every few months, always to oncology practices. $50,000. Enough to buy a lot of silence from medical staff willing to falsify records. Elena, how many doctors do you think are involved? Based on the payment patterns? At least 12. Maybe more. Her voice dropped. But Sarah, there's something else. Yesterday, I received a package at my hotel. No return address, just my name on the envelope. My stomach clenched. What was in it? A photograph of you leaving the courthouse on Monday. And a note that said, Elena, you're asking too many questions about the wrong people. The kitchen suddenly felt impossibly small, like the walls were closing in. Elena, where are you now? I moved to a different hotel last night, but Sarah, I don't think it matters. They found my office, my apartment, my hotel. They're tracking me somehow. She took a shaky breath. I think they want me to stop investigating, but I also think they want me to know they could find me anytime they want. Before I could respond, my burner phone, the one Rodriguez had given me for emergencies, started ringing. Unknown number. Elena, someone's calling on my secure line. Stay on the phone but don't say anything. I answered the burner with my heart hammering. Hello? Sarah Chen. The voice was male, middle-aged, with a kind of calm authority that suggested medical training. This is Dr. James Kellerman. Every muscle in my body went rigid. I don't know who that is. Of course you do. Elena Vasquez has been very thorough in her research, and I'm sure she shared my name with you. His tone was conversational, almost friendly. I'm calling because I think we have some things to discuss. I have nothing to say to you. Oh, but you do. You see, Sarah, Marcus was always the weak link in our operation. Too emotional, too attached to his targets. We knew eventually he'd make mistakes. Dr. Kellerman paused, and I could hear papers rustling in the background. What we didn't anticipate was someone like you, someone smart enough to figure out the scope of what we're doing. The police know everything. Marcus and Amanda are in custody. Marcus and Amanda knew only their small piece of the operation. 2 people out of a network that spans 14 states and employs over 30 medical professionals. His voice remained maddeningly calm. Sarah, we've been doing this for a decade. We perfected systems that Marcus couldn't even comprehend. I looked down at the case files spread across the table, for women, murdered for insurance money. If Dr. Kellerman was telling the truth, there were dozens more. What do you want? I want you to convince Elena to stop her investigation. I want you to tell Detective Rodriguez that you've remembered incorrectly about some of the details Marcus told you. I want you to testify that you're not certain about the scope of their operation. He paused again. In exchange, we'll provide you with a very comfortable life. A new identity, a substantial bank account, relocation anywhere you'd like to live. You're asking me to help you cover up murders. I'm asking you to be practical about a situation you can't control. Sarah, we know where you are right now. We know Elena is in room 412 at the Hotel Presidente in San Jose. We know Detective Rodriguez's home address, her children's school schedules. His tone never changed, but the threat was unmistakable. We've been doing this for 10 years because we're very, very good at managing problems. The line went dead, leaving me staring at the phone in my hand while Elena's voice crackled through my regular phone. Sarah? Sarah, what happened? Who was that? I stared at both phones in my hands, one dead, one with Elena's panicked voice asking what had happened. Dr. Kellerman's threat echoed in my head. We know where you are right now. Elena, pack everything and get out of that hotel. Now. I was already moving toward the safe house's back door, grabbing the emergency bag Rodriguez had prepared. They know exactly where we are. Sarah, what did he say to you? He offered me money to stop the investigation and threatened to kill you, me, and Detective Rodriguez's children if I don't cooperate. I checked the locks on all the windows, standard procedure Rodriguez had drilled into me. Elena, how quickly can you get to the U.S. Embassy in San Jose? 20 minutes, but Sarah, I have copies of all the banking records hidden somewhere safe. Even if something happens to me, nothing is going to happen to you. I was dialing Rodriguez's emergency number while talking to Elena. But we need to move fast. Dr. Kellerman just made his first real mistake. Rodriguez answered on the first ring. Sarah, what's wrong? Dr. James Kellerman just called my burner phone and threatened to kill your children if I don't sabotage the investigation. I heard Rodriguez curse violently in the background. He also somehow knows Elena's exact hotel room number in Costa Rica. Pack your bag. Federal marshals are en route to you now, ETA 6 minutes. Rodriguez's voice was tight with controlled fury. Sarah, what exactly did he offer you? New identity, relocation money, a comfortable life. But Rodriguez, he said their network employs over 30 medical professionals across 14 states. We've barely scratched the surface. Which means he's scared enough to expose himself by calling you directly. I could hear Rodriguez typing rapidly. Sarah, did he give you any specific details about their operation? 10 years, 14 states, 30 medical professionals. He said Marcus and Amanda only knew their small piece. I was stuffing clothes into my bag with one hand, still holding both phones. Elena, are you moving? I'm in the elevator now, Elena's voice came through. But Sarah, I've been thinking about something. Dr. Kellerman couldn't have known my hotel room number unless he has access to real-time surveillance or someone at the hotel is working for him. That thought made my blood run cold. Elena, don't go to the embassy. Too predictable. Find the busiest public place you can, a shopping mall, airport, somewhere with lots of security cameras and crowds. Why? Because if they have people at the hotel, they might have people at the embassy too. I could hear vehicles pulling up outside the safe house. Rodriguez, are those your marshals? Affirmative. Black SUVs, license plates Delta 779er and Charlie 445. I peered through the front window and confirmed the plates. 2 marshals were already approaching the door, hands near their weapons. Elena, I'm about to lose cell service, but listen carefully. Record everything Dr. Kellerman said about the banking patterns and send it to Detective Rodriguez's secure email. If this network is as big as he claims, the FBI is going to need every detail you found. Sarah, what if they find me before? They won't. Because in about 2 hours, Dr. Kellerman is going to be too busy dealing with federal raids to worry about tracking you down. I opened the door for the marshals, showing them my identification. Rodriguez, how fast can the FBI move on those medical practices Elena identified? Warrants are already being prepared for Phoenix, Portland, and Denver. But Sarah, we need Elena's complete financial records to make the charges stick. One of the marshals, a tall woman with graying hair, gestured for me to follow her to the SUV. Ma'am, we're taking you to a federal facility. You'll be completely secure there. As we drove away from the safe house, I kept Elena on the phone until she reached the crowded food court at a shopping center in San Jose. Elena, I need you to send those records to Detective Rodriguez right now, then destroy the phone you're using. Sarah, what if this doesn't work? What if Dr. Kellerman's network is too big to stop? I looked out the SUV window at the city passing by, ordinary people living ordinary lives, unaware that somewhere in their hospitals and medical offices, people like Dr. Kellerman were selecting victims and planning murders. Then we make sure the world knows exactly who they are and what they've been doing. Sometimes the best way to stop people like this isn't to hide from them, it's to make them too famous to continue. 18 months later, I was sitting in a coffee shop in Portland, the same chain where Marcus had first approached me 4 years earlier, reading the final news coverage of the Kellerman network trials. Dr. James Kellerman, life without parole. Catherine Walsh, 45 years. Michael Torres, 35 years. 14 medical professionals across 12 states, all convicted on various charges ranging from conspiracy to commit murder to insurance fraud. Elena had been right about the scope, 37 victims over 10 years, with estimated insurance payouts totaling over $12 million. The investigation had uncovered the largest medical murder conspiracy in U.S. history. My phone buzzed with a text from Elena, who was now living in Miami under federal protection. Asterisk saw the final verdict on the news. We did it, Sarah. We actually stopped them, asterisk. I looked around the coffee shop at couples having normal conversations about normal problems, work stress, weekend plans, family visits. None of them would ever know how close they'd come to living in a world where people like Dr. Kellerman operated with complete impunity. We stopped these ones, I texted back. That's enough. Outside, it was starting to rain, and I realized I was no longer afraid of strangers approaching me in coffee shops. Not because the danger was gone, there would always be people like Marcus and Dr. Kellerman in the world, but because now I knew what real love looked like, what genuine concern sounded like, what authentic care felt like. And I knew the difference was worth protecting. The barista called out someone's name, Sarah, large coffee with extra cream, and for just a moment, I tensed, remembering a different Sarah in a different coffee shop who had trusted too easily. Then I relaxed, picked up my drink, and walked back out into the world, grateful beyond measure to still be alive to see the rain.